Winston is coming from MilikiRumah out of Indonesia. He's going to talk about expanding home ownership, technology and finance for the underbanked. Okay, I'm looking very much forward to your presentation. So Winston, over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. They need that.
Selamat sore, my friends. Selamat sore means good afternoon in Bahasa Indonesia. Indonesia has a very friendly business culture. Can I urge all of you to say Selamat sore together to your friends who are sitting next to you after me? Selamat sore. Thank you. Okay, so why my marketing head put up blue ocean here is because we see MilikiRumah as a social PropTech, which empowers home ownership among millions of underbanked Indonesians. And it's the first of its kind PropTech in Indonesia. We are not a marketplace. We are not an agency. We are not a developer. We are not a bank. So later I'll share with you what is our business model. But the main problem we are solving is home ownership problem in Indonesia. Okay, so just a short story about myself. Growing up in Singapore as a Singaporean, since I was 12 years old, I have followed my father to go property hunting. And I've seen how a normal school teacher like him can build wealth through property ownership and investment, and how many other Singaporeans are able to achieve that financial freedom with property ownership. So growing up in Singapore, to me, owning a property, owning our own house is like a given. But when I joined PropertyGuru as a regional director, reporting to the founder, traveling to various countries across Southeast Asia, including Thailand, Indonesia, I realized that what we take for granted in Singapore is not really taken for granted in many countries. For example, in Indonesia, the home ownership rate is as low as only 50%, where a large majority of population are not even able to own their first house. So that's where I want to leverage my skill as a property investor, my experience as a real estate fund, and my PropTech experience as a founder -1 with PropertyGuru, together with my like-minded partner, Marine Novita, who used to be the ex-country head for Rumah.com, which is the PropertyGuru subsidiary in Indonesia, to collaborate, to do good using PropTech. And of course, other than that, we have a few senior leaders from Rumah.com who are with us. And also happy to share that Yani, who is the co-founder of PropertyGuru, is also one of our shareholders. So what are the problems we are solving? We are solving a 12.7 million housing backlog problem in Indonesia, where there are 12.7 million families in Indonesia who desire and need a home, but they are not able to do so. If you convert that into at least 4 to 5 members of the family, we are talking about addressable market of 50 to 60 million people. And that is bigger than the size of Singapore and Malaysia population combined. Secondly, in Indonesia, only 23% of the people can have full access to financial services. In short, majority of Indonesians falls under the category of unbanked or underbanked. Third data point, of the 142 million workforce in Indonesia, 60% are in the informal sector, or what we call non-fixed income. So what it means is that there are many small entrepreneurs, solopreneurs in Indonesia, freelancers, who are not making a living by drawing a fixed salary like what many Singaporeans do. As a result, they don't have a validated way to prove to the bank that they can pay the housing installment. As a result, most of these people are excluded by the bank in terms of their mortgage loan. So therefore, what MilikiRumah wants to come in is to do inclusive home ownership and inclusive financing as a social PropTech. And last but not least, Indonesia is very big on consumerism. Can you imagine 40 million Indonesians use buy now, pay later with a 5% NPL rate? Just to share another data point with you, in Indonesia, there are 100 licensed P2P players, and all of them are lending money to Indonesians with no collateral. As a result, the consequence of this big consumerism is that many Indonesians borrow a lot of short-term loans without understanding and realizing that it destroys their credit profile, which render them impossible to get their bank financing for their first house. I was told when I was in Indonesia Many Indonesian, young Indonesian, take a buy now, pay later loan just to buy a Taylor Swift concert to watch in Singapore, to fund the air ticket to Singapore. So what is our mission? MilikiRumah see ourselves as a social PropTech with 3 social missions. The first is we want to empower the underbanked population in Indonesia to help them to build their credit profile, to convert the unbankable to be bankable, so that 60% of this population will be able to access financial services trusted by the bank, so that they are able to qualify for bank loan to buy their first house, which growing up in Singapore, I felt that is deserving for every citizen to own their first house. Second, we want to increase home ownership rate by fostering financial discipline, by telling the young Indonesian, don't spend too much, don't spend more than you can make. Try to conserve your capital, try to save money so that you have enough money to own your first house. And we will take them through the journey to make that possible. The third is when we have a larger proportion of people being able to be homeowners, we are helping Indonesia to build an inclusive society and therefore promoting social stability and equality in the country. So who are the profile of this group of people that we are talking about? The first group is probably the biggest group, which is a small business owner. In Indonesia, there are many small business owners, some selling bakso, some operating small shops. And in Jakarta alone, there are more than 1 million of these small business owners who are largely underserved or neglected by the bank. By default, if you're a small business owner, you go to the bank, they reject you. The second group are agents. It can be real estate agents, insurance agents, any salespeople who are not drawing a fixed pay, purely based on commission. By default, the bank will also ignore you. Third group, freelancer. There are a lot of freelance economy, a big freelance economy in Indonesia, where even our software engineer, a lot of them are freelancer. Fourth, social media influencer. Another data point to share with you. Do you guys know that now Indonesia have the largest number of TikTok users in the world, superseding USA already? So in Indonesia, there's a huge TikTok economy, where what we see is only the TikToker. What we don't see is a whole host of the ecosystem players who are working behind the scene of the TikToker. And all these TikTokers, by default, when they go to the bank, rejected. And of course, the gig economy workers, like your Grab driver, your Gojek rider, and of course, side income earner. What about side income earner? In Indonesia, because the average salary is not high, even a school teacher, based on the fixed salary from the teaching job, is not able to qualify from the bank loan based on the debt-to-income ratio. As a result, many Indonesians, especially those who are living in Jakarta, they have to have side income. So maybe a teacher will have a side business income, selling bakso or do some side tuition. But however, most of the time, their side income are not recognized by the bank. So therefore, these are another group of people that MilikiRumah wants to help them to build their credit profile. Okay, so we enable banks to pick up new market segments while providing 2 layers of buffer at risk for the bank. So it's kind of risk management for the bank. At the first layer, we use our technology, our AI, to do predictive score on this consumer to assess whether they have the ability and willingness to pay the installment. And the second layer of buffer we do for the Indonesian bank is we use our own capital to underwrite them to take on this consumer for the first 12 months of installment, which is even higher than what they pay the bank. In Indonesia, most of the Indonesian banks charge an interest rate of between 5 to 6% for the first 2 years. But in MilikiRumah, we charge them a rental rate of 13%. So based on the gym theory, if this guy can lift 13 kilograms of weights, there's no reason why he cannot lift 5 kilograms of weight. So after demonstrating to the bank that the consumer can pay MilikiRumah on time, 13% rate, 12 months, there's no reason why he cannot pay the bank 5%. That's where they can be graduated to the bank and become bankable and own their own house. Okay, so we look under the hood of the loan application system in Indonesia to identify the area of improvement. What is the gap? One key gap is that it's not optimized for non-fixed income people. By default, most of the banks largely ignore the income made by non-fixed income earners. Second, there's a lack of clear pathway to redeem themselves. How to go about doing it? There's no clear pathway. They are just largely condemned to be renter for the rest of their life. And third is, there's not enough tolerance given for hiccups. So unlike Singapore, where the government has a lot of strong job support scheme, in Indonesia, if you are working in the hospitality sector, retail sector, F&B sector, you likely will lose your income. And a lot of people lost their income during COVID. As a result, they are not able to service their car loan and their motorbike loan. As a result, many of them are not able to, so-called, they are condemned to be call lima. Call lima means that they are treated as customer with bad credit record. After COVID recover, even though they recover their income, they refuse to pay off this debt because their vehicle is taken away from them. So this is another issue with the banking system over there. So what we do is we use our AI to address some of this problem. We analyze non-traditional data source to assess the credit worthiness. So later there's another slide to show that how we take a holistic view in terms of understanding behavioral data of the consumer to predict whether they are good paymaster of the home loan or not. Secondly, in terms of pathway to redeem themselves financially, we create personalized financial diet program for every user to help them to build up their credit profile. Users who need help in certain area, we will create auto reminder for them to pay. And third, not giving enough tolerance for hiccups such as post-COVID recovery, we use real-time contract renegotiation for some of the users to be able to create temporary respite. For example, some of them, they have a father who is struck with cancer. We use the system to create auto respite for them. So this is where our system comes into the picture. Traditionally, for most of the Indonesian bank, they look at financial hard data and credit bureau data to decide whether this consumer qualify for a bank loan or not. When it comes to credit bureau data, if this consumer has a bad record with the credit bureau in Indonesia, meaning they have an unpaid loan, straight away they are out of the picture already. But for us, MilikiRumah is more forgiving. We take a holistic view of the consumer. We try to understand better about the consumer. So for example, if this guy, he may have an unpaid debt because of COVID, where he is not able to pay his auto loan. But then in terms of financial behavior, for the last 3 years, he has been able to demonstrate on-time payment for all his bills, including his telco bill, including his rental bill. So we deem this consumer to be a trustable consumer. So we will still score him high. Financial hard data is what the bank look at, debt to income ratio. If this guy debt to income ratio cross 50%, he's out. But for us, if this guy is 60% debt to income ratio, but we find that he has a very strong savings rate and savings pattern, we will still pass him. So these are some of the criteria that we use. Within each of the 4 buckets, we have all 30 different data parameters to score the consumer, and we will vary the weightage of each of these data based on machine learning. So as we get more and more data points of all these consumer applications, our machine will get smarter and smarter in terms of understanding where are the gaps, where are the levers, what are the weightage that we should attach to each of these consumers. And therefore, our goal is to build a system that is even smarter than the bank in terms of predicting whether this guy has the ability and willingness to pay his mortgage loan. And we are happy to share that we are now at version 1.0. By April, we are able to roll out version 2.0, which means that as long as the consumer submit whatever we want him to submit, including the psychometric test that we ask him to do, we're able to give him his result as fast as within 1 single day, which is faster than what the Indonesian banks are doing. Currently, many Indonesian banks are taking weeks, if not months, to come back to the consumer. So here's the consumer journey with MilikiRumah. So first of all, the consumer express their interest and submit document to us, and this can be done within 1 day. Our technology will assess him. We'll be able to tell him whether he passed or he doesn't pass. For those who pass, they'll sign a contract for rental with an option to purchase with us, and they can immediately move into our property once it's fully constructed. After successfully paying the rental of 12 to 36 months, they'll be able to graduate to the bank, and we will be converted from unbankable to be bankable. And the house that they pay us for rental will be their house forever for them to stay. So this is a way for us to do upward social mobility for this group of underbanked consumers. And why would the Indonesian developer want to collaborate with us? Because today, if you talk to any Indonesian developer who are serving the first home market, the price bracket of between 300 to 700 million rupiah, all the Indonesian developers are staring at a loan rejection rate of anywhere between 40 to 80%, which means that they can spend a lot of money to do marketing campaign, they can have a sales team to sell, But after 100 buyers put up the down payment, they need to reject anywhere between 50 to 80 of them, which is totally unproductive and inefficient. So that's where Indonesian developer would like to collaborate with us to use our system to score the consumer and use our solution to help all these consumers to do a 1-year diet program to graduate them to the bank so that they are able to onboard more consumer, improve sales efficiency. And more importantly, it will help to elevate consumer experience with our technology also. Yeah. So in short, what is the value add that MilikiRumah bring to the respective stakeholder? For consumer, it becomes an alternative way for the underbanked population to own their aspirational home. Underbanked population are no longer excluded from home ownership. Second, for developer, it will help to create greater demand for property, help to increase the utilization of the land, and help them to improve their conversion of their hot leads. For the bank, it's a wider blue ocean, where in the past, the Indonesian bank are only addressing 40% of the fixed income earner, but now MilikiRumah is opening for them the other 60% that they are not touching. And last but not least, for the rest of the property real estate player, whether it's the marketplace in the likes of PropertyGuru or Rumah 123, or in the likes of, let's say, digital agency like Property Scout, all these players are not our competitors, they are our friends, because all these players can continue to do business, generate leads, and these leads can be on-pass to developer, and the developer will pass all those who are not able to qualify for bank loan for us to process. And that's where we are able to create a bigger pie for everybody, from the bank, for the developer, for the agency, or even for digital player. Yeah. And for us to make this work, we need huge amount of capital. Therefore, if we just depend on the traditional tech startup way of raising capital of Series A, B, C, that's not going to help us to scale. So as a result, MilikiRumah has a creative way to fund our program. So under MilikiRumah, where HQ is still Red Key Capital in Singapore, we have a rent-to-own fund, because currently we are backed by 3 very strong institutional investors coming from Singapore, 1 family office and 2 licensed fund management company with a strong AUM. So we are able to mobilize a rent-to-own fund to be able to help us to do the property acquisition. And I'm happy to share with you that one of our shareholders has managed to arouse the interest of United Nations to partner with us to do this. And we are happy to collaborate with anyone here who wants to come this to do a social PropTech to improve the life and change the lives of millions of underbanked Indonesians. And with the rent-to-own fund, we are able to do project acquisition by forming different project SPV to do financing of the project with the different developer in different projects. And the game plan is for this year, our plan is to target Greater Jakarta, which is the largest urban center in Indonesia, with a population of 24.6 million. By next year, we want to expand to Greater Surabaya and Greater Bandung, which are the other 2 urban centers in Java. Just based on Java alone, the population is 150 million, which is bigger than Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand combined. So we have a very big addressable market to cover. And after that, in year 3, we will expand to Sumatra, Greater Medan, Greater Lampung, and also Sulawesi, which is Greater Makassar. So we hope through the collective effort of our leadership team, our board advisor, our shareholders, and the likes of various PropTech players that we know here, new friends that we make here, we can make the world a better place by helping more people to own their first home. Thank you.
Winston, thank you for that. And I love the underlying social
PropTech.
Social PropTech behind it. I think that's honestly fascinating and a great mission to do it. How relevant and useful was your experience at a traditional portal business in Indonesia before starting MilikiRumah?
Oh, okay. Thanks for the question. So having been 9 years in PropertyGuru, sitting literally next to the co-founder Yanni, I think I have learned a lot about how the PropertyGuru founders built PropertyGuru from zero to hero. And I have seen how they manage budget, how they manage expansion. And we all recognize that PropertyGuru is the largest online real estate marketplace in Southeast Asia. So I believe I have learned a lot from the founders. And I'm happy to say that the founders continue to provide me with guidance and advice. And today, one of the founders is also my shareholder. So I think a lot of the strategy, a lot of the business practice, a lot of the culture that was done in PropertyGuru, I plan to bring over to MilikiRumah.
Okay, excellent. Do you foresee this model working in other markets, or is Indonesia enough to keep you busy for a while?
That's a good question.
I think 200 million people.
That's a good question.
Is-
So
keep you
based
busy.
on one of our investor is a strong family office from Singapore. They like to do specs in US. So their end game with us is to groom us for a spec listing in US. And my goal with the family office is that we want to list with a valuation that is bigger than PropertyGuru. So for that to happen, we cannot be just in Indonesia. But in order for us to expand beyond Indonesia, we have to be number one in Indonesia. We have to cover a substantial number of consumers in Indonesia. So the game plan is based on the map that I illustrated just now. If we are able to cover 70% of the addressable market in Indonesia, we will have sufficient data from the largest market in Indonesia. And with that data point, our AI machine learning will be so smart that when we bring the business to Malaysia, to Thailand, to Philippines, we should be able to do a very quick score on the consumer. So the answer is yes.
Okay, excellent. And do you make any revenues? What is part of your costs?
Okay,
do they
so
cover?
the economics of this is this. Definitely in our P&L, there are a few line items. Because in this case, we are doing what Singapore government do, which is a HDB BTO method. BTO stands for build to order. So what Singapore government do is, Singapore has a very successful public housing program where they build upon consumer signing contract. We are going to use the same principle for Indonesia. So our model is that we'll partner with real estate developer with land, and we'll finance the construction using build to order. So our main cost in this case is land cost, construction cost, and developer profit share. And our main revenue line item would be the rental income we collect from consumer, and the development margin we make from the disposal of the property when we flip to the bank. So I think net, we are sitting on pretty good margin of anywhere between 35 to 40% for every property sold, including the rental income.
Okay, wow. Can you tell us more about the psychometric tests? Do you feed this data to AI?
Yes. So one of the interesting things I encountered in Indonesia is that today, Indonesia has a very young population. 50% of the people are young Indonesian. Today, let's say a guy want to go dating with a girl. The girl also do psychometric tests on the guy. So definitely we will feed AI into the psychometric test, and we will tweak the relative weightage of each of the question based on the bad data feed we get from them. So therefore, as I said, the more data we have, and it's not just any data, it has to be data of people who are ready to own their first home. The more data we have, the sharper our credit score will be, including the psychometric test. So the end game is that currently the Indonesian bank NPL rate is between 2 to 5%. If we are able to achieve NPL rate that is lower than a bank, then one day the Indonesian bank will knock on our door to ask us for our technology, to license our technology to score on the mortgage bank side.
Fantastic. Winston, thank you very much.
Yep, thanks.
I love what you're doing.
Thank
Well
you.
done. Thank you.
Thank you.